everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Behind Enemy Lines. Tonight's an exciting night. It's game night, and not only is it game night, it's home opener. So, with that, we know we can expect lots of bells and whistles and pop and circumstance, as like only Montreal can do. And as always, riding shotgun with me is my buddy Steve.
Thanks for having me back one more time. I might wear you out at some point, so we'll keep this train a rolling and hopefully going into home opener, like you say, electricity is personified at the Bell Center on drop of game one. So let's dive deep into Habs hockey and let's talk about what opening night and the preview to the Kraken.
Okay, so opening night is against Seattle, which is a got many different angles and many different things all on its own, as you know as well as I do. So on that, let's go with our trivia question that you've come up with another good one for us.
So let's keep it relevant. The crackheads are in town, not the ones from downtown Toronto. These ones will come from Seattle. So the Seattle Kraken are in town. So we'll go back. Who scored the very first Montreal Canadiens goal against the Seattle Kraken? And Google is wonderful. Back in 2021, this was in the inaugural season, so that's when Seattle was there. So this isn't too far back. So hopefully, more viewers can recall this one being a little bit more prevalent in recent history.
Excellent. So to preview the game real quick, we're just going to dive in. I'm going to start by reading off what would be the projected lineups, and I'm on the dailyfaceoff.com website, so thanks to them.
Thanks to
Uh,
those folks for keeping digital information front and center for us.
yeah, so projected lineups for tonight's game, we've got Suzuki centering Slavkovsky and Caulfield, which, no big barn burning surprise there. The next two lines they have, I've seen other ones have it, but it's basically the lines are the same, but one has them as the second line, the other has the third line. So I want to qualify that statement. So Puckpedia, sorry, Daily Faceoff has Kapanen centering a line of Newhook and Demidov as the second line, and Kirby Doc centering Bolduc and Gallagher as the third line. Again, some other websites, Puckpedia, whoever, have those two flipped, but I think either one really works. And as usual, the third line has Jake Evans centering Patrick Laine and Josh Anderson. As far as defense goes, they've got Matheson and Dobson as number one, Gooley and Hudson number two, Jackeye and Carrier number three. I don't think we really need to go into the power play units. They're pretty much what they are. They haven't changed. Penalty kill, same thing. Of course, Montembeault and Dobash Monty is the projected starter for tonight's game as well.
And I would have to agree. I mean, no time like the present to ride who is supposed to be your starting goalie. So I would expect game one, Monty would get the start, and probably Thursday night Dobish would see his first home action. So no surprises.
Yeah. So I
Surprise.
don't think anything is going to be no shocking unless there's a lineup change in the next couple hours that we can't foresee, before the puck drops. I think it's pretty steady, pretty, play as you go kind of thing, which is okay. I mean, I'm happy. I don't see any issues with projected lineups. Maybe something about changes that I don't.
No, at this point, I'm getting the same sources. I go on to Daily Faceoff. I go on to Puckpedia. I'm searching the dreaded Toronto Sports Network, or I mean, the Sports Network or Sportsnet, looking for some of those better, closer to the source guys. At this point, they're all projecting the same thing, so consistency is key. Could we expect changes? We know we have two players that have ridden the pine up on the press box, enjoying the road popcorns for 3 games. Is it time for a change? I would like to see the same lineup that started the year 2-1 on the road start at home.
Mhm.
But if there was a lineup change, I don't think it would be any surprise if we're swapping a defenseman in and we want to see Struble get game time, I think it comes at the expense of the Sheriff. We know his ice time was down last game, not his play that caused that, just circumstance. So if we're looking at a change on the back end, I could see Struble playing in for Jackeye. The bigger guess would be if you're taking a forward out of the lineup to see Joe Veleno play at home. He is a French Canadian
Mhm.
kid. This probably is not this probably is a player into nobody's shock and dismay. But if we're making a change, I honestly see Patrick Laine coming out.
Mhm.
Not again, not for his lack of play, although the 18 viewers we now regularly have might argue that that is exactly the right move. I just think if you put Laine on the fourth line, that's probably the easiest one. So if those are changes, that's my hot take on a tip off. I'm wrong often.
Mhm.
My wife will tell you that. So we'll see if I can toe the line on this one.
Yeah, and I don't dispute your defensive uh thinking there. I think if you're going to get Struble in, I think Jackeye is the guy. Unfortunately, that would be the change. Do I want to see it? No, but I would like Struble to get some game time as well. As
Yeah,
far
I'm
as the
hoping
as
I'm
far as the
hoping that
forwards
Thursday.
go, as far as the forwards go, I can agree with line A sitting for Veleno. And I wouldn't be upset at that. However, I think we can go back to something that you and I have talked about in past episodes. I like the idea if you're going to bring Veleno in, sit Doc for a game. You know what I mean? Let him rest, let him get some health. We both agree that there's no way he's going to play 80 games. So maybe this is how you get him a rest. I mean, I know it's home opener, it's a big night, it's going to be a big night for Kirby, but Joey wants to get in his hometown too. Does it happen? I guess time will tell. We'll have to wait and see.
Time will tell, and not a bad way to look at it. We talked about managing minutes. We talked about that with goalkeepers. Who plays how many games? Does Dobish play just his 17 on the backs of the on the back to back? Does he get 20? Does he get 25? I would like to see them rest Doc in a couple of these back to backs where he can get his time off. But I'm hoping that would be a Thursday decision. I'd like to see them stay status quo for the home opener. Let's see if we can make it three in a row.
Yeah, for sure. And I think right now, uh, I don't think either decision is wrong, but I agree with you. I think I would like to see the lineup stay as they are. They played well on the road, 4 out of 6 points. You can never listen. If they get 4 out of 6 points out of every road trip, we're gonna win the East. I mean, that is such a huge accomplishment as far as I'm concerned, and I can't overstate that. So you leave it as it is, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, and but again, there's a reason why you and I are doing a podcast and we're not wearing the suits and ties at the bottom of the Bell Center right now.
Mhm. One day, one
One day,
day.
yeah, one
Yeah.
day. Come
Okay,
on,
so let's
29 more subscribers gets us over the hump, guys. Come on, you
yeah,
can do
yeah, yeah. Let's start it, eh? We get 50 subscribers, we get the job.
it. Yeah, hot take.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to predictions. What kind of predictions do you have for tonight's game?
Well, I think we come in riding a good wave. We've played pretty sound hockey, 60 minutes, whistle to whistle. I don't see that changing at this point. It's early on. We're not a banged up individual. We don't show one guy being a weak link at this point. So I'm anticipating feeding off the home crowd. We've talked about this. What does game night look like in Montreal? It's electric every night on game night. You walk up and down the streets, you outside in the courtyard outside the Bell Center by all the monuments and retired jersey numbers and the Guy Lafleur bronze statue, and it is just electricity. People are just it's not hockey in Montreal. It's a religion.
Mhm.
And church will be in session. And
Mhm.
you've been there, I've been there multiple times, and together, and it doesn't change. It doesn't matter if it's March and we're on a 9 game bender where we can't score. It is still people excited to be there. It's a different city, and I'm looking for much more of the same.
Yeah, me too. I think for predictions for me, I'm going to predict a win. I mean, I mean, unless something serious happens, I'm pretty much going to predict a win every night. I think that's the great thing about being a fan. Uh,
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Jeff O'Neill and see if I can get you on the panel on the Toronto Sports Network if we're gonna go
well,
all.
I don't want to dumb it down and go on that episode, but we'll just stick to our own thing for now. But
Are you,
like I
are
said,
you smarter than are you smarter than a second grader? You'll see those four monkeys on TV.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to predict a Montreal win. I'm going to predict Demidov scores the winner. I think he's going to have a breakout game. And I think it's going to be a little bit further apart. I'm thinking of a 5-1 or sorry, a 4-1, 5-2 score. And I think Demidov has a breakout game and he gets the game winner.
I'm gonna tighten it up a bit. I'm gonna say a 4-2 win. I
Hmm.
think we have more firepower. Let's not lose fact of. I think this is episode number 7 of Head to Head Slav versus the infamous Shane Wright. We know he's got a regular spot in the Kraken lineup, so I'm sure there's a little bit of a sideshow circus to that approach, but Seattle is just a team that you can never count them out. You don't count them in, but you can never count them out. So I'm going to say it's a 4-2 win on home ice. I'm going to say we get an empty netter to make it 4-2, but I'm going to say we control most of the play, and I'm going to say we get a couple power play goals in this one. I won't go as far as to say who gets the game winner. I'm on the same page as you. Demidov, I think, hits the score sheet and gets his first of the year. I will go as far as to say I think Suzuki probably gets his first. I'll even let's go crazy and call him the game winner. And we'll follow by an empty netter to seal the win, and we win the home opener.
Excellent. So I have an expectation tonight as well that there's not going to be Montreal's not going to take a lot of penalties, and I don't think Seattle will either. It's definitely not going to be a Chicago replay, but I think it's going to be definitely a tighter game. Um, as far as the actual play goes, I think it will be a lot less penalties. I think Montreal is going to play a smarter game to limit their penalties. My only concern is the ceremony. I think it might be a little bit of a slow start. They may be, a few shifts to get in, after the ceremony, which typically happens, every team goes through it. So I think that might be a little bit of a worrisome, I guess you would say, at the start. I don't want people to panic. It happens. Montreal's been doing this for over 100 years. All the NHL teams do it. It's just how they can adjust after that. Are they playing from the first drop or are they playing from, the fifth or sixth faceoff?
Right. And I was there for the Detroit opener, and they did a little bit of a throwback. They do things right. They pay their tributes. They get their fans wound up as well. And we saw that they came from the first puck drop. And you would if you go back and look at the video footage, Dylan Larkin scores the first goal of the game. He's an Ann Arbor, Michigan kid, scores at home, and you would have thought he won the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup, the NBA championship, and the World Series all in one night. And he fizzled out like an ice cube on the streets of Phoenix, Arizona. It didn't take long for it to be gone, and sayonara, sweetheart, and adios means goodbye. So let's hope Montreal has that warm and electric feeling, which they often do, and we are at it at the first puck drop.
Yeah. And on a side note, Dylan Larkin also scored the first goal yesterday against the Leafs in their win over the Leafs.
He might be my second, well, he might be my 18th favorite player right now that's not in a Montreal jersey. So
Yeah.
I only cheer for two teams, Montreal and anyone playing Toronto. And
Yeah.
anyone who scores against Toronto are my new favorite players because they're scoring against Toronto.
They're
So
right in there.
yeah, you can't go wrong.
Mhm. Yeah, and as a side note, my last thought on what to expect. I don't know what to expect. I don't know that it's fair, but I tell you what I would like to see that's entertaining is, Savklovsky, Savklovsky scores a goal, and as he's skating by the Seattle bench, give Wright that stare. The stare he
Yeah,
had on the
yeah.
draft?
Give him the stare down back.
Yeah,
I don't think Shane Wright's going to jump over the board and then come after him. Slap's a
yeah.
big kid.
Yeah,
So, my money be on Slav in that one as well. So yeah, that would be some bittersweet. And it might take over the Patrick Waugh wink of years gone by in the LA
yeah,
series. That would be the face looking down upon you. So
yeah,
hey, if it happens, let's get shirts made and let's endorse it. So go
yeah.
Slav, go.
It would be a good chuckle, and I think you're right. It might be a wink moment. Um, so unless you have any other thoughts on the game, we'll move on to the next topic.
Opening ceremonies.
Okay, so opening ceremony, Steve, I'm going to let you take this away. As we know from previous episodes, uh, your son is named Dryden after Mr. Dryden, and I know he holds a special place for you in your heart. And I'm going to let you take off with what you think about the ceremony tonight, or yeah,
Yeah,
what's going to happen tonight.
uh, like we said, we talk about electricity. Nobody does game one, night one with as much flair, dramatic, and passion as the Montreal faithful.
Mm,
They are the masters of the video on the ice and the flames and how the whole crowd gets amped up. The music, the in-house announcers, the energy is there is something else. And we know we have the famed torch saying that's on the dressing room, and it's been part of every ceremony, whether it's been the kids coming on and having something years gone by. In one of the last couple of years, we had Ken Dryden pass the torch to Carey Price. These aren't just opening night games. These are events. These are masterpieces. There are a lot of teams that try and mimic the Montreal grand opening. I know Vegas has gotten into some of this as, an in-house every game having a duel with another fan from another or another mascot from another city or some on the ice. That's based on what Montreal does. We all know that. You go anywhere else, nobody does opening night ceremonies like the Montreal Canadiens. That being said, this is game one since we lost the legend, Ken
mhm,
Dryden. So, do I expect a few runny eyes in the building? Yeah, I'm guessing they're giving out onions with ticket sales in this one. So, he was a true class act, a legend. Not just in the building, outside of the building, on the national stage. He played for Canada. Was part of the Paul Henderson game where he was the goalie of record, where we beat the Russians. And again, you go up and down the list of accomplishments in the '70s, and Ken Dryden was all over it. So, do I expect them to do something like this on opening night? Absolutely. Because why wouldn't you?
mhm.
You've got 20,000 people, 21,000 people in the Bell Center, all on the edge of their seats. And you want to tie history. We've got the gods of the forum. We've got the players. That's the one thing that Seattle can't say. I mean, they're 5 years and they don't win shit. We've got the Lafleurs, the Bellevaux, the Rockets, the Pocket Rockets, the Patty Waws, the Carey Prices, love them or hate them, the PK Subans. We've got a long history of flamboyancy, success, championships, individuals. I mean, we can tie so many angles into this. But when you lose a legend, it doesn't have to be too much. But my guess is they will honor the 29 if we can get it to stay up here. This is from the Dryden retirement. My guess is that they're going to pay a special moment to Mr. Dryden on this night. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if his wife or any of his family was on board, and that's part of the torch ceremony and passing that off. Because if Montreal does anything, they do it with thought, and they definitely do it with class. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Dryden family was in on this at some point as well.
Yeah, excellent. And I think you're right. I think I mean I know for a fact and I'm going to make a statement and I can't remember where I heard it from, but I know there are a lot of the other NHL teams have actually called the Montreal, production team or whatever you want to call it for advice on opening ceremonies and what do they do, how can we improve? And I believe Vegas was one of them and of course Vegas being, the city of lights and all the different stuff that they have going on, you know you knew they were going to do good shows too, but nobody does it like Montreal. Nobody
No,
does.
I
And I
I
think,
mean,
like you're saying, Montreal's got the history to back it up. But I know from, and I'm going to make a reference to opening night in Toronto that I was at. it was pretty lackluster. Like it just they did a tribute to Ken Dryden. I mean, he was their president for 7 years, and I get it, but it just wasn't the same. The building wasn't loud. I mean, you know what it's like. You've been in that building, uh, you know, with me and on your own. That building is a rocket thunder in there when they get going and that ceremony starts. People are almost at bated breath, gasping, waiting to see what's coming. And they prove it over and over again. Nobody does and I'm not going to say hockey, I'm going to say in sports, there's nobody does an opening ceremony like the Canadians do at the Bell Center.
Oh, agreed. I mean, I was fortunate that season one, very first home opener, number one, I was in Vegas for
Mhm,
that very first home opener. They did it right. They did it Montreal-esque style. Now, unfortunately, a little bit of a somber home opener for them as well because that was a week after the hotel shootings, where a bunch of people in the Vegas area were killed by a gunman out of a hotel window. They recognized victims. They recognized first responders. They had a whole bunch of them on the ice, which is touching because nobody likes to see this violence of any level, of any mass production, especially when it's a reckless gun crime. So it was somber and rewarding, but Vegas does it like Vegas style. They had
mhm,
Cirque du Soleil do a production on the ice. I
mhm.
mean that's something. Now they don't do that every night, but it was a one-off.
Yeah.
Welcome to Vegas, where we are the bright lights and the glitz and the glamour, but we do this 100 years in a row. We
Mhm.
we we do this. We are the opening night event. Friends and family that if they come over and sit down and watch a game with me, they're not allowed to talk 2 minutes before the TV coverage starts. Like
Mhm.
you get in the zone because it's an event.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that memories it. This kicks off the season. This is
Yeah.
what you remember. So again, bringing back the Dryden passing the torch to Carey Price the year after he broke the record of most goaltender wins. Special moments, and when you're at those games, you remember. You might not remember the score, but you can say that home opener was something else. This happened and this happened, and this is why we go.
Mhm.
So my phone gets put on silent. I basically it's radio silence at my house. I am glued to that TV. The second they go get puck drop and the first whistle, I can get up and use the restroom or let my dog out or whatever. But
Mhm.
I am glued to that four-sided rectangle in my living room if
Mhm.
I'm not in the Bell Center.
Yeah, and I'm the same way at my house. Like this might sound like a jerk move. I don't care. My house, my rules. I've actually asked people to leave my house because there's a game on. I'm the same as you. I want to watch the game. I want to hear what they're saying. I want to enjoy the moment. I don't want to be competing with somebody sitting on the couch next to me talking about how their day went, what they did today, what they're doing tomorrow. I don't care about that. In 2.5 hours, we can talk about that after the game's over. But from that, I've also learned who I can have over for games and who I can. I have a list of 5 or 6 people I will never invite to my house to watch a game, only because I know they can't keep their mouth shut when they need to keep their mouth shut. So that solves the problem.
Yeah, because those are the people that usually talk about Austin Matthews tripping over,
Mhm.
his tampon string, and Willie Nylander had a purple suit on that didn't match his green shoes, and
Mhm.
you know, stuff that's not relevant,
Mhm.
right? This is hockey,
Mhm.
and we keep it with hockey teams and hockey players,
Yeah.
not the guy that can only score on an empty netter.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know we're both pretty passionate fans. We enjoy the game, and we're not asking for too much, I don't think. I think it's a little bit of a respect thing, maybe.
Yeah, and a shout out, to number 21. He got a game-winning goal last game in Chicago, so we'll rep the Caden Gooley going into the hometown game tonight. And you are wearing the legend of Mr. LaFleur. So
Yee! I know
another
he's both our favorite player.
yeah, yeah, we'll throw back an old and new tonight. So,
Yeah.
go Habs, go. Hopefully it's I shouldn't say hopefully. It's going to be electric, people.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting night for sure.
turn the heat off in your house, turn the volume up on the TV and just get energized because
Yeah.
if this doesn't make you sit on the edge of your seat for one game, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Excellent. Great discussion on our opening ceremony. With that, we'll go to our final thoughts and take her away, Steve.
Well, final thoughts. So we'll tie in a little bit of where we've been, 2-1. We both think this is a chance for us to put together a 3 game winning streak. I'm looking forward to the next 10 days because we play the next 4 at home, including tonight. So this is a chance for us to build, maybe get some new bodies in the lineup, but a chance to really cement an identity here. Last year we were extremely slow to the gates, and come December we were right down there with the Blackhawks, and we found a way through the second half. I wouldn't like to have to work so hard. Guys sacrifice life and limb. We've seen guys bleed red, white, and blue for this organization. Carey Price and Shea Weber, they gave up everything they could to try and win a Stanley Cup for the
Mhm.
logo on the shirt,
Mhm.
not for the name on the back, but for the one on the front. And it's just an organization that when you pull on the sweater, I mean, there's a kid's book, The Sweater. If
Mhm.
you haven't read it to your children, you're failing as a parent. Go out and get it. Make sure they have that in their bookshelf. But it's the stuff of legends. So, I hope Mrs. Beliveau's in the building. That always gets the crowd amped up. Again, I'd like to see same thing. Stay out of the penalty box. Let's do this the right way. Let's win a game handily, like we did in Detroit, where we just score goals and score them when we want to, and we carry on the trend of being that team.
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple final thoughts. Um, One is, Ken Dryden was, you know, he was a legend all on his own for many different reasons. I believe, he was a Hamilton boy, born in Hamilton, raised in, the Toronto market and all that other stuff. We know his accomplishments. He was a lawyer, he was a politician, even though he was a politician, we still liked him. But I think he was universally loved everywhere he went, inside and outside the game. I just think he was that type of a gentleman. And I say gentleman because he was a class act. I mean, there are very few players that, in my opinion, were as classy as him, knew how to handle himself, was good with people, and genuinely cared. And I think he was one of them. And I think that leads back to a comment you made earlier. It's the logo on the front, not the name on the back. And I think that's part of the mentality that he had and a lot of those players, and you see it now with the Montreal Canadiens now in our current roster, you really see it. Um, my one final thought, which I'm going to say something to lead back to you. I want to give out a shout out to your Dryden, uh, the newest TV star in the fold.
Yeah, it's kind of a shock for those that don't know. Yeah, my son is named after the legendary Ken. I shouldn't say mine. I had a better half that I
Mhm.
think she did a lot of the work, a lot of the incubation, anyways. But recently, and for those that want, if you want a link in a comment section, I'd love for you to watch it. My son serves in the U.S. Navy. Recently completed tour one over in Yokosuka, Japan, is now back in the US on home soil, or home for us soil now, but was recently featured in a video for the US Navy. So they celebrated their 250th birthday, and they did a big commemorative video. So I shared it with on my Facebook page to some
Mhm.
family and friends. So yeah, kind of a special day for us as a family, and again, named after a legend. So it's kind of all coming to be that full circle. I'm not crying, you're crying kind of moment, but
Yeah,
a proud parent moment nonetheless. So yeah, special shout out to those that serve. It doesn't matter what country you're
yeah,
in, whether you're in Canada, the U.S., Japan, wherever.
mm,
Hats off to those that are prepared to sacrifice their life for the protection and freedom of others. So, we weren't a military family prior to when we moved to the U.S. He did join the U.S. service, but we are proud of each and every serviceman here and abroad, and whatever country. Again, as Don Cherry would say, thumbs up. Thanks for doing what you do and being who you are, and
excellent.
and to their families, because it is a family endeavor.
It is a big sacrifice, and I couldn't agree more. Hey, look, Dryden is not my son. I've met him, but I'm proud as punches of him, and I can only imagine how proud you are, being his father. And as a non-American, I'm proud for everything that they do, but I'm proud for the Canadian military as well, as my family and both my wife's family have deep military. ties, mostly in the Navy as well, but all across the board. So I get it. I understand it's a big sacrifice for the families, and the only reason I bring it up is I don't want it to sound like some kind of a shameless plug, but I think people need to understand what what your son gives up every day to do that, and what you as a family go through every day, the sacrifices that are being made. That's all I wanted to say. I don't want to make a big, huge production out of it. I just wanted to say, on behalf of everybody that I know and everybody that listens, thank you.
And I appreciate it, as does my family. So
Mhm.
thanks to those who have commented on the post on Facebook. Again, proud moment. I don't know that that'll be followed up by the words "and the Oscar goes to," but we're still proud of them nonetheless.
They all start somewhere.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. On that note, I think we'll head off to the trivia answer for the question.
So trivia answer, we talk about the long history that the Montreal Canadiens franchise has. So you go back to the who's and you try to cycle through the wonder players of, is this, 5 years ago? Who were our big players? Not the guy you'd think, but a guy who wore the number 68 for the Montreal Canadiens, Mike Hoffman
Hmm.
scored our first goal against the Seattle Kraken. So that was on October 26th. It was 2 weeks in. I think they debuted on the 12th of October, and we played them. And shout out to Galley and Suzuki, who got assists on the very first uh, goal and points against the Seattle Kraken.
Excellent, excellent question as always. At this time, I'm gonna get ready to sign off here and say thank you to all our viewers. Again, Steve, you have something you want to do a quick shout out?
Yeah, we've asked everybody, like, comment, share. If you run a Facebook group and you want to give us a shameless plug and share one of these episodes, please do. We'll give you a shout out. I'd like to give a shout out to a buddy of mine, Vincent Marino. He runs a group, and we will post the link. Habs Nation March Forward for 25 begins now. So they're a Facebook group. I think they're 500 members. If you're not part of that group, they gave us a plug, so please give them a like and a share, and get involved on their page. So thanks, Vinny. We appreciate you, and we'll have Vinny on one of these days as a guest speaker, and we'll maybe get a little bit of guest viewership going. And if you have a Facebook group and you want to share the link, please like, copy, share, paste, subscribe. Shoot me a message, shoot Sheldon a message. We'll give your group a shout out, and we'll see if we can get viewership up on your groups as well.
Excellent. So again, shout out to Vinny. Thank you very much. We will post a link in our comments for you everybody to check out his site, and I would love to have him on as a guest. I know we're in discussions right now to start scheduling that stuff, have guest speakers and guest appearances on our podcasts. Um, so with that, I want to say thanks again for watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit them buttons. It helps us out. And as Steve always says,
Keep your stick on the ice.